Three, two, one, go. Good afternoon. This is William Galloway speaking to you today from Jasper County, South Carolina. I want to talk to you for the next little while on the subject of black land loss in the Lowcountry. The Lowcountry consists of Beaufort County, which also includes Hilton Head and Bluffton, Hardeeville, and Jasper County, which is Hardeeville, and Hampton County, and parts of Colleton County. Loss of black land of the Lowcountry. This tax sale will be coming up in the month of October for delinquent property taxes, and tax property will be sold in October and November for Jasper County and Hampton County. The way it works is that if you do not pay and have not paid your property taxes on personal property or real property, property will be sold at the tax sale. You may find the tax sale date on the website of Beaufort County, Hampton County, Allendale County, Colleton County. In fact, it's on the treasurer's at the tax office, treasurer's office. Have all of the information on the website. You also look on the website, you will see whose property is being sold. Many people may not know that the property is being sold, but it's going to be available to you, to the general public. You can find out who property have not been paid, what the taxes have not been paid for. A lot of people may know their neighbors' taxes have not been paid, and they will not say anything because the neighbor will ask them to borrow some money to pay the taxes, or say you're not minding my business. So they'll let the property go up for sale, or it may go up for sale because the parent or guardian giving the money to a relative to pay the taxes, and they have not checked to make sure that the relative have paid the taxes. They just assume that, well, I gave it to like a nephew or my cousin to pay the taxes for me, and they've been paying it all along, and there's no need for me to check. Wrong. You should check to make sure that they took the money down there to pay your taxes. It's too late to find out after the sale of your property that you did not pay the taxes. They decided to use the money for something else, and their good intentions were, well, I was going to pay it, but grandma, couldn't able to get it back. I'm sorry, but property was sold. So, and you have a year and a day to get the property. Here's where the statute falls under the way the property is being sold. The South Carolina Code of Laws, statute 12-51-40. 12-51-40 controls the sale of property in the Lowcountry of South Carolina. The reason the property is being sold is because of non-payment of taxes. We need to read that statute, 12-51-40. You can find that on the cell phone. Use the cell phone for do more than just keep it with a Facebook and YouTube and Twitter, and for minding other people's business or doing business or reading the Bible. Use the cell phone. You can find that information and we want to share with you on the website of South Carolina Code of Laws. Now, the Code of Laws says that you must notify the the property owner, posting on the property, and to send the information to the owner of the property. Here is a warning. They needed to post the property for the owner. They did not make a provision for heirs property. Now, I'm bringing it to you for the first time. There's no provision for the sale of heirs property. And someone will say, well, you're crazy. If you don't pay the taxes, you have to pay, they're going to sell it. That's fine. I understand that. But here's the problem. They cannot serve the owner of the property because the owner is dead. It would read the laws, serve notices to the owner of the property, or mail it to the owner of the property. They do not say to the cousin or to the uncle or aunt, the owner of the property. Owner of the property is dead, so they cannot serve the owner of the property. There's no provisions for selling heirs property currently in South Carolina laws for the sale of property that the tax has not been paid for. That's number one. Number two, you can only sell enough property to pay the property taxes. That means if you have 10 acres of property, and if 1 acre is enough to pay the taxes, they're supposed to divide the property and only sell 1 acre, according to the law. It also states that the treasurer, the auditor, and the assessor has the responsibility of dividing the property to be sold. And you say, well, how can they divide the property if they don't have the money? The code also says that when the property is sold, if the property is going to be deeded to someone else after the sale of the property, it's the costs. They said the costs and the penalty and the taxes that will be taken from the money first. Costs is surveying of the property. That's where the costs come in. The survey of the property, when the property is given or deeded to someone else, then they will pay for the cost of the property, sale of the property. They'll pay the penalty and the taxes on the property. The cost is where that you get is where the money comes from to pay the survey of the property. When you're going to ask someone, they're going to say, "Well, it doesn't say that." It does say when if the cost is there, you take the cost first, you take the money the penalty for the taxes and the taxes, then you give the family the remainder of the money. There's another problem there. The remain after the property has been sold, if they're taken off the cost, which is the survey, that the treasurer, the assessor, and the auditor will be required to do. They're required by law. It's clear. Just because you don't want to force them to do it, the law is there. It's up to you and your family to make sure they do it right. They're taking your property. Now, what are they going to do with the money? After the year and a day, the excess money that's left, if the property was sold for $10,000, if the taxes were $1,000 and the penalty, you have $9,000 left. What happens to the $9,000? It's your money. Here's what happens. They will tell you, at least in Jasper County, that they do not know what happened to the $9,000. I've approached the county council. They said, well, what happened to the $9,000? We said, we don't know. They said, the family is supposed to get a refund. Where is the money? We don't know. Say, well, who's responsible for the money, the excess money? Where is it? We don't know. I said, now, if it was me, and I'm responsible for safekeeping money, and you ask me for it, and I tell you I don't know, we're sitting in jail. Why aren't you all in jail? Tell us where the money is. He said, we don't know. We don't know where the money is. I said, well, I'll tell you what I'll do. I'm going to help you out. I will work for a portion. Give me 50% of the money that I find. I'll go and ask the treasurer, where is the money? Someone is holding the money, and they held it for a year and a day. Where did they keep the money? Which bank did they put it in? Or they carry it home, or they put it in a safe at home, or give it to their buddies to hold? Where did they keep the money? Why is it so difficult to find out where that money is? And why isn't the money being given back to the family like it's supposed to? We don't pay attention to that. We just assume that they take your money, they take the land, and give you absolutely nothing, and not even an explanation as to what happened to the money that's left over, the excess money from the sale of the property. They sell too much of the property in the beginning, which is unlawful. If they're supposed to sell 1 acre out of 10, they sell 10 of 10, and that's how most of the land on Hilton Head Island. Most of the land after the Civil War was controlled by black folk. 95% of the land on Hilton Head Island was controlled by African Americans. And after the Civil War, they looked around and saw a beautiful island. The white folks said, wow, this property, who owns this property? Jabbo Jones. Oh, black fella. They said, they own the whole doggone thing. He said, well, we got to get it back. And here's how we're going to get it back. We'll do it through the tax sale. They're not going to pay attention to that. We'll take 50 acres at a time, 50 acres or 100 acres, and we'll sell 50 acres, and we'll start selling it at $50,000. 50 acres, $50,000. They do not have $50,000, so that we take 50 acres of their 100 acres this time. The next time, and we put year and a day, we take 50 acres for the $50,000. Now, we're not going to give them the excess money. The money that's overage on the $300 worth of taxes, and we sold for $50,000. We got $300 in taxes that was due on the property. Now we got $59,970. What are you going to do with the money that belonged to the people that you took from the property? We're going to keep it. You keep the money for the sale of the property and the property that you sold to your friend. That's absolutely right. They're not going to. They don't know it. They don't know the statute. They don't know that we're supposed to give them the money. The statute. What statute? South Carolina law 12-51-40. You're supposed to give the money to the family after the sale of the taxes. Say, well, if they call you and ask you about the money, if someone finds out that you're taking the money illegally, what would you tell them? You tell them, I don't know where it is. That's it. He said, what if they question you more? He said, well, talk to the county council. I don't know, because I don't know what happened. And they said, well, when you go to the county council, what is he? They're going to say, we don't know what happened to the money. They're not going to pay attention. They didn't pay attention to pay the taxes. They're not going to pay attention to worry about the excess money. They don't know who's supposed to get the money. So we'll just leave that alone. We're not going to worry about it. 12-51-40 is where the sale of the property is. So now 95% of Hilton Head Island is owned by other people, other than black folks. Black folks own a small amount. They're sitting on a couple of acres of property. Now, what disturbs me? Black folks have the heirs property, and they like to tell you, and I hear it all the time. My grandfather left me 20 acres of heirs property, and nobody's going to take that from me. How many people live on the heirs property? Well, it's 40 of them. Now, if grandpa, coming out of slavery, and get 20 acres and leave it for his children, why can't you buy 2 acres someplace else instead of depending on what grandfather did? If it wasn't for grandfather, you won't have no place to stay. Grandfather had more sense than you sitting around talking about, I'm sitting on the heirs property, and someone said, how many acres you have? We have 2 acres of heirs property my great-granddaddy left. How many of you all live on 2 acres of heirs property? 10. 10 people live on heirs property. Granddaddy got coming out of slavery for 1862. And you're the great-great-great-grand, and you could not buy 1 acre of property someplace else. That's shameful. It's very shameful. Now you all live on 2 acres of property, and the 10 families. With all the properties being sold, all your neighbors' property that they wouldn't pay the tax because they sent someone else down there to pay the tax. They thought everything was okay, and it was not okay. It was in the newspaper. They put it in the newspaper 2 times. Then your friends know that everyone knows when the property is going to be sold. They knew your property was going to be sold, and you had to know it, and you didn't do anything about it. I've seen people with heirs property, 2 acres, 10 families live on 2 acres of heirs property. Taxes are $200. They say, I'm not paying it because, John, he lives on the property too. John won't pay his share. And I paid $25 last year on taxes now, and he won't pay me back. I'm not paying it. This property be sold. That's a shame. Heirs property. Heirs property. Now, here's the warning about heirs property. If they sell heirs property, here's what I'm not an attorney. I'm just a person who read the laws, and I read and I understand pretty well. I went to school in Beaufort County in South Carolina, St. Helen Island. I graduated from high school in 1960, so I know about this area very well. This is my hometown. Now, I'm not worried about land. I have some land. I'm not worried about me. I'm worried about you and your grandchildren. Now, we moved 95% of the landowners now on Hilton Head, people other than black folks. Now they use the tax sale. They moved from Hilton Head Island to Bluffton, South Carolina now. They're over to Bluffton. It's one of the largest cities in the state of South Carolina, Bluffton. It's run by black folks. 30 years ago, it was run by black folks. Black folks controlled the council. They were in charge. They own most of the land. Now you go through Bluffton, South Carolina. Most of the land over there now is owned by somebody else other than black folks. Black folks looking around say, what happened? What happened? What do you think happened? You didn't pay the during taxes. And when you did pay it, then you sold the property too cheap. You didn't figure out where you're going to be moving to. People in Bluffton. Allowing property to be taken away for delinquent taxes. Then they move over to the Fusky. The Fusky was owned by black folks. A few years ago, one old lady was over there, and she had a couple of goats and sheep and little animals that this old lady was raising for herself. Old house, but she was happy. Well, the wealthy person went over and they said, "Well, oh, she would like to buy your property." I said, "No, sir, I don't have no place to go. I've been here all my life." He said, "Well, the taxes are going to be up. Now you got to pay about $10,000 in taxes." She said, well, I don't have $10,000. I can't pay the tax. What happened to my tax for $200 for the last 10 years? He said, no. We just built a house over there, right over there. And it's property value is going up. Where am I going to go? I don't have any place to go. He said, well, sell and move. Someplace said, well, I don't want to move. He said, well, you got to go. You pay the taxes. You sell or you pay the taxes. So you look over to Fusky Island now. The Fusky is 99% somebody else, other black folks. Then decided to be, we'll supposed to look at Hardyville. Hardyville comes right straight down from Bluffton. 90% of the people now in Hardyville are businesses and people other than black folks. What happened? They use the tax sale as a method. The tax sales method is easy. They don't understand it. So when we sell the property, we're going to sell more than we're supposed to sell. And when the year and a day, then we will keep the rest of the money. And that's what we'll do. They're not going to say anything because they don't know. And they're not going to believe anybody else. They're not going to ask any question. They just act as though they don't know anything. They're going to sell the property. Section 12-51-40 will tell you everything that you need to know about the property. They sell more than they're supposed to sell. They're only supposed to sell just enough to pay the taxes. The treasurer, the assessor, and the auditor has the responsibility to divide the property. It's in the statute. And people will say, well, who's going to pay the assessor and who's going to pay the assessor and the treasurer in order to go over there and do that? It comes out in the cost of the sale of the property. It's clear. It's in there. It's clear. There's no some misunderstanding about what it is. Then they got them over to St. Helena Island now, and that's where I'm from. They're doing the same thing over there. They want to build a golf course, and a big, beautiful golf course. They said, well, they wanted to build 18 holes. The native African Americans from St. Helena said, no, 18 holes is too large. So they said, okay, we'll divide it in half. We'll sell half to own, half to this person, half to the other person. They, they understand. They don't say, hell, they understand. 2.5 is 9 acres. It come to 18 holes. Now, they said they're going to do that for the benefit of the community. Let me tell you something. They're not doing it for the benefit of the community. They do not have any mobile homes around golf courses. Don't you believe? Your little boathouse, your little farm, your little whatever, little pig farm, chickens, is going to be gone. They will not have no mobile homes near the 18 hole on the Gulf. It's not going to be there. They're going to build those big mansions, and everyone around those big mansions is going to be gone. All you have to do is watch. They're going to get it. They're going to keep on after you over and over and over until they get the property, until they get that golf course. And it may take some time, but they have time. If they don't do it, the grandchildren are going to do it. But they're going to get that golf course. And all black folks got to do is fight as long as you can. If you keep fighting, and you'll be able you win some battles, and you're going to lose some. But they will use the tax sale in order to get the property. And I've watched it over and over and over. And nothing seemed to be able to stop them. They get ready to widen the highway 462. They widen the highway from Okatee Highway to I-95 and exit 28. Well, they're clearing off both sides of the road. We have some black folks that's as happy as they can be. We can see all around there now. I'm glad they're cutting down the road. His house is 50 feet from the highway. And it cleared around his house too. And he said, yeah, we can see clearly now. I said, you think they're clearing it for you? Can't you see? Here's what they've done. They're going to widen the road. They're going to condemn the property on both sides. If you're in the way, they use what's called eminent domain. That's for the benefit of the government and government of the people. Eminent domain, they have the right to condemn the property. Then they use condemnation. We bulldoze your house, pay you for your house, and bulldoze your house. They're going to widen the road. And the church is sitting right in the road, 20 feet from the main road now. And they're looking up for the Lord. And I got some news for you. Here he's coming. You better make some arrangements. There's no place to go. And now I own property in that same road, and I'm waiting. I got my calculator. I'm ready. Come on, come and get me. I just thought I'd share. It causes you to be frustrated when you see that you look and see black folks losing land over and over and over and over. And for no reason at all, or just pay the doggone tax. You know, sometimes the taxes are just about $200. $200. I found out, and I didn't know this. Cigarettes pack was $15 to $18 for a pack of cigarettes. All you got to do, not smoke for 1 or 2 days, and you can pay your taxes. Big Mac hamburgers, $18 for a Big Mac big meal deal, and forgo the Big Mac and you pay your doggone taxes. There's no excuse. 6-pack of beer, $18 or $12 or whatever it is, and you pay your taxes. You won't have any place to live. because from all the way from Hilton Head, Bluffton, Hardyville, it's coming all the way to I-95, I-95, north and south. And that's where you are. Land that black folks control for years, owned by big corporations now, because we didn't pay our taxes. Well, the tax sale is coming up. I'm about through. The tax sale is coming up this month of October. It's also coming up in November. October for Beaufort County, South Carolina. Get a copy from the treasurer's office and download the map for the treasurer's office, and the list of people who did not pay the property taxes is going to be on the treasurer's office. And also in Jasper County, it's going to be on the treasurer's office. In Hampton, it's going to be on the treasurer's office, the date and the sale of taxes of the property. Now, I was at the last tax sale, and I saw two beautiful black young ladies with a computer. And they already had this thing plotted out. And the property, they bid on this property, they bid on this property, and bid on this property. I said, this girl's got a lot of money. I said, well, I'm going to sit around and watch, because I only had a couple $100. I'm intrigued by these two beautiful black ladies. Beautiful. Doing all this money. So I sat there until the lunch break. They got out, got in a Bentley with a chauffeur. Those people meant business. They mean business. Now, let's assume that your property has been sold to the tax sale, or your property is supposed to be sold, and it's not. And you have the money now, but you didn't have it on Friday to pay for it. But on this Monday, now you have the money. Said, what can I do? Said, they can't take any money at this point. So the property is going to go up for sale. And they said, and I know this worked because I've used it. I didn't pay my taxes by mistake. I paid mine and everybody else's business, but I have the money, so it's not a problem. I know the law. My property went up for sale. They said they bid 50,000. I said 100,000. They said, you can't bid on your own property. I said, why not? The law doesn't say that. I bid it on my own property. They said, well, it's $100,000. I said, okay, it's $100,000. I bid it on the property. So I bid on the property $100,000. So I decided, well, come here, Mr. Galloway, we're going to talk to you. They call themselves chastising me. Okay, let's talk. So now you cannot bid on your own property. I said, well, call the state treasurer and ask them if I can bid on it. I said, besides, it doesn't say that. I said, and they called and said, well, Galloway's right. I can bid on my own property. And you said, well, why would you bid on your own property? Bid on your own property because if you have the money to pay next day or two or week or whatever, if you let someone else bid on your property, the date that you bid on the property and the next day you owe 3%, 3% of the amount of money that was bidded. If they bidded $100,000, 3% is the next day is what you have to pay. Now, to do what I did, bid on the property, knowing I didn't have $100,000. I knew that. So they said, well, the penalty for doing that is $300. Look at the money I saved. So I said, I don't mind paying $300 because I knew that's the penalty. I save thousands of dollars because I know the law. I bid it on my own property, or if you even bid on somebody else's property and you don't have the money, you have to tell till 5 o'clock the next day, 12 o'clock that afternoon, pay it. If you don't have the money, the sale is over. The sale is over until next day. Give it to Forfeited Land Commission. In other words, FLC. FLC means Forfeited Land Commission. There's a group of people. It consists of treasurer, auditor, and assessor. They get the property, and they have a list. The next day, or the next 2 days, you go down there and pay your taxes. You pay the $300 penalty, and you pay your taxes. Don't let them outbid you on the property. Make them work for it. Do not let them outbid you on your property, because if you let them outbid you, then you got to pay them all that interest, 3 months of interest, because of one day. If you do it, you only pay $300 plus the taxes. That's what I want to share with you, because it's in the law. We can't do anything about it. But we don't pay attention because we don't go to the tax sale and we don't read the law. Law 12-51-40. My name is William Galloway. I thought I'd share that with you. And hopefully I will see you at the tax sale for those people who do not pay their taxes. I'll be down there looking. I may not be able to buy anything or bid on anything because I don't have the money. But let me tell you also, if you have a car, everything I've talked about was for real property, personal property. A mobile home is personal property. Mobile home is not real estate. It's personal property because you get a title to a mobile home. Mobile home is not a home. It's a mobile home. It's your home. But as far as the law is concerned, mobile home is personal property. And personal property, you get the mobile home if you bid it on it. You have access to that property right then and there, the same day. You can go to the people who live in that mobile home and say, look, pay me rent, get out. Right now, the next day, pay me rent. My rent now is $1,000 a month. That's my house. Not according to the law. It's your house, but I can't move the house. But I can charge you rent for staying in that house. I can make you move out of the house, but I can't move that house for a year and a day. Talk to me. That's the law. Most of us don't know that. And most of anyone who wants to bid on a mobile home, you got to make sure that the land under it, because if you don't have that property, you have to get on the land. You got to move the mobile home. So make sure you have the right age on the mobile home because it's too old. It can't be moved. I just thought I'd share that with you. Mobile home is considered personal property. And more like a car, boat, those considered personal property. You get a car or boat, you get the title right then and there. Right then and there. I got South Carolina like gas company boat. They turned my power off many times. I couldn't afford it. And they did what they're supposed to do. Couldn't afford it at the time. I cut off many times. They come cut at night. So I was cold my air conditioner, my water, and everything else. So that boat went up for sale. Someone made a mistake. I bought it. And I was so excited. I finally got even with the South Carolina Electric Gas Company. I had the boat. And they had a boat on the Fussy Island. I called them up and said, bring my boat in. With the boat. Okay, I brought it in, and we negotiated because I didn't have any football. But I went in, and that's when the newspaper out in front of you was South Carolina Electric Gas Company. And I bought the boat, and I sold it back to him. I didn't have a need for it. But I wanted to teach him a lesson. I'll never have that opportunity again. But I did it at that time. Anyway, so much for all of my digressing, talking to you about the tax sale, the loss of black land. I want you to say, pay taxes. No, because I'm going to be the only one left. Because I'm paying mine. I want you as a neighbor. Don't let it run all of us off. I am not going anywhere to pay my taxes. Because I know the deal. When you're gone, I only have those other people as neighbors, then I guess I'll be the last one to leave. It's sad, but I hope that you'll take care of your taxes. Or is statute 12-51-40. God bless you. My prayers are with you. I'll see you at the tax sale. Look for me. Have a great day. Are you through? Hello? Yes. Answer me, please. You what? Now it's done. Okay.